Hi guys, welcome to this little wood carving vlog where I'm going to discuss different types of wood, knives and other fun things. If that's your idea of fun, I hope it is. Let's go! And let's start with something really exciting. So I have ordered this box of wooden offcuts. Of course, that's a bit risky because they might have put something totally unusable in there. And I have no idea what types of wood are in this box, but that's the thrill, isn't it? So let's open it. So what do we have here? I can see something. Oh, so the first piece is mango wood. Sounds delicious. I have never tried carving it. Usually fruit trees are the best for making all sorts of jewelry, so I have big hopes for this one. And of course, since they're offcuts, they're not going to be impeccable, so I expect some imperfections, and that's okay. The second one is paduk, which I have tried before. For instance, this pendant has been made out of paduk. It has a lovely red color, very rich and saturated, so I will definitely find some use for it. Now this is exciting, look at this unusual color. The wood is appropriately called purple heart. This piece is really heavy, so I expect it to be quite hard to carve. And the last one is zebrano. I've seen this wood in online shops quite often but never got around to buying it. So now I have an opportunity to try it. Of course it has some long cracks, but hopefully it won't be a problem. I'd say it was quite a good experience with this mystery package. I got some woods that I'm excited to put to some use, and I think I will go for purple heart because it's so unusual. Of course I'm a bit nervous because I googled and realized that its hardness according to the Yanka scale is 2520. Just to compare, basswood is only 410. Well, I won't be a coward. I decided to carve a fox profile, so I drew it first on this piece of wood. Then I cut a smaller piece and finally used a bandsaw to get to the outline. So I thought carving at home is a bit boring, so I decided to go to the top of the mountain and do it there instead. And look who I met on the way there, this lovely little guy. Then of course I come close to the mountain, I look at it and think, why did I think it was a good idea? Why didn't I just stay at home? No, it will be worth it, I'm sure. I'm almost there, just a little bit left, but I need some tea. So I think I'm just gonna stay over here. This looks like a very nice place. I've got some tea and food with me, and by the way I'm drinking linden tea, which is our good old basswood. So I'm consuming basswood in all shapes and forms. Okay, I had some tea, now it's time to do some carving. The first impression is quite pleasant. This wood is hard, but definitely workable. I'm pretty sure my knife will get dull in no time, so I should be prepared for that. I softened the edges of my fox, trying to make small, cautious cuts. It's a nice breeze today and the sun is mild and sweet, and carving outside is a real treat. When I was a kid, we would take plants like this and ask each other, a hen or a rooster? And this is what we would do. We would push all those little parts of the stalk up and see what shape they resembled. Here it looks like a rooster. Let's see what we're going to get here. I think it's a little chick. Of course, interpretations could be really different, so we would start arguing sometimes. Anyway, guys, we've got just a little bit left till the top of the mountain. Let's go! And I'm on top of the mountain, and surely it could just be a field and you would never know. But you don't have to take my word for it. Let's go and I'll show you something that will prove me right. This is a white marker and they normally place it to show the summit. It's a bit worn out, but you can see the red Welsh dragon. Okay, now I have to find the way home somehow. I did find the way home and then carried on carving in the garden. By the way, you can see how it changes color. It's sort of light brownish when it's freshly cut, but then it becomes purple again. A bit of a strange color for a fox, I admit, but this is not just any fox, it's a magic fox. And this is its color the next day. This is it, the pendant is ready. I'm just going to mark a place for an eyepiece. By the way, it was extremely hard to screw an eyepiece in. I expected it to break at any moment. I did not like that at all. But here it is, the test piece made out of purple heart. So I'm reading a sci-fi book about aliens and space travels, and then I see something familiar and dear to my heart in the place where I expected it the least. Look, a stylish mahogany table. How sweet is that? But then look here, after a few smacks with a hammer the chisel chips. They should have put a trigger warning on this book. Can you carve wood with a very cheap knife? I decided to find out. So I found the cheapest knife on AliExpress. It was £1.77, which is just above $2, maybe $2.20. Honestly, I don't have high expectations considering the price, but who knows, maybe we're going to be pleasantly surprised. I doubt that. So let's open it and see what it looks like. It has a knife guard and the handle is shiny. I think it's covered in lacquer, and it kind of reminds me of a flex cut handle, but it's a bit thinner and it's kind of comfortable in the hand. So here's the knife. It came really sharp, which is frankly impressive. Let's see it in action. Okay, you can do your cuts, but I felt like I had to apply more pressure than I normally do with my everyday knives. So carving is a bit of a strain. I think it's because the blade is rather thick and it's not easy to push it into the wood. This is definitely a disadvantage. But I decided to give it another go and carve a simple fox fridge magnet. It was a bit tiring going around the outline, but I wanted to give myself time and experience this knife in full capacity. I think I gained some muscles after this. I don't like to press too hard on a knife because it can be quite dangerous if you slip, so I had to keep an eye on that. I was taking wood out in between the ear and then the tail and the body, and this is where things started to get messy. It would fluff too much, and then I swapped for my usual detail knife just to compare, and I was like, yes, that's much better. Oh, such a struggle. Anyway, I did the rest of the carving with this knife, and it probably took me twice as much time as it normally would. But it wasn't a complete disaster. I still managed to do my work, just not as efficiently. You know what, I kind of got tired of that knife. It's not that bad. It can be used in the beginning, especially if you're not sure whether wood carving is for you or not. I definitely started with something much worse. It was very rusty, dull pocket knife, and I'm surprised that it didn't put me off carving. It was that bad. However, will I be using this cheap wood carving knife in my everyday projects? And the answer is absolutely not. I don't know about you, but when I whittle, I can sit in one place for hours without moving. That's not good. Our bodies need action. So let me show you some cool wood carving dancing moves. Let's pretend you haven't seen that. Somehow I ended up with 3 pieces of mahogany. So this is Honduras mahogany. Then I also have a nice piece of Cuban mahogany. And recently I also got a piece of Brazilian mahogany. The guy who sold it to me said that it's been in his garage for 40 years, so I can only assume that it's really dry and hard. My predictions, I think that Honduras mahogany, the one that I showed you first, is the softest of them all. Mirror, mirror on the wall. But Honduras mahogany is the only one that I've tried so far, so let's test the rest. I'm going to carve the same thing out of all 3 types of wood. Well, more or less the same. As you know, with handmade things, you can't make anything twice. Even if using patterns, every little thing is going to have its own character. It's just inevitable. So I start with sketching a hare in a sort of running or jumping position. As a werewolf, I'm obsessed with hares and foxes because this is what I see every day in the forest. We're big friends. After I have a more or less clear idea of what I want to draw, I take my Cuban mahogany at first and start drawing straight on wood. I decided to place the front legs together rather than separately like on my sketch, to minimize the chance of them breaking. Then I go for my Brazilian piece, which looks quite worn out and hard like a piece of fence. It is a bit hard to draw on it, but I think I make it work. Same running hare, but with some slight adjustments, of course, because I can't copy it 100%. Nice work, or is it? I just realized something. So here I've done it right, the grain goes this way, but here the grain runs vertically, and I mean, it's not the biggest problem, it will still work. For example, here's a similar hair with vertical grain. It will be fine, I guess, unless you decide to throw it against the wall. But it doesn't feel natural, and there is still a risk of breaking it while I carve, which would be annoying. Okay, let's work smart, not hard. I'm going to draw a pattern this time, which I will be able to place on wood and then just go around it. The other great thing about patterns is that you can print them at, let's say, 80%, or on the contrary, make them a bit bigger. Finally, this hair is on all 3 pieces of mahogany. Now I will cut these chunks off and make them relatively thin too. They don't have to be fully 3-dimensional because they will be lying flat on the chest as pendants. They shouldn't be too thin though. Here's an old work of mine and this hair is way too thin. There isn't enough profile going on here. This dragon, on the contrary, is fully 3-dimensional. And while it was fun carving it, I don't think anyone would wear this heavy full-size figure around their neck. A cup of tea later and I start carving Brazilian mahogany first. Even though it's not a full 3D shape figure, it still has layers, and this is what you need to consider when making a pendant. Like, I know for a fact that the tail is going to be lower because it's in the middle of the butt. Neck is obviously below the head, one ear is behind the other, and so on. Once we have established the layers, we need to make sure we don't have any of those nasty sharp edges with saw marks. Rabbits and hares are not rectangular after all. I must say this mahogany is a bit tough, it's like carving a piece of old furniture or something. Once you figure out one of them, the rest is easier. You just need to pay attention to the difference in grain and density, which is also not a small task, but still. What makes it hard to carve Cuban mahogany is that the grain goes in all possible directions. This is when I realized that it's not horizontal at all. It would tear a lot if you made a wrong move. Honduras mahogany is pretty soft. The only thing I didn't like was the stripiness of the grain. You can't really see the small features because of it. But here they are, all 3. I think I prefer dark Cuban mahogany, it has the best satisfying finish. It's really smooth and pretty and uniform as well. I place all 3 pendants on ice screws, hang them on a piece of cord, and they are ready. It was a fun project full of challenges, but that's how you learn something new. Thank you for watching guys, and see you in other vlogs.